welcome back to the vlog. It has been a minute, and in that minute, the world seems to have changed, but welcome back. Thanks for checking out the vlog. It has been forever, and I've wanted to get on here and make some content, do something creative, and here's what's happened. I want to give you a shotgun version of what's happened in the last couple months, and I'm not talking about the coronavirus. I'm talking about my own life. It was crazy. We wrapped up 2019 and was pretty sick during the last couple months of the year, and then even into the new year. We had a big move. I'm sitting here in the new office or studio or whatever you like to call it. I'll give you a little tour. I'm so excited. We have been in a townhouse for about 2 years while we were building kind of our dream home, and I'm excited to be in. It's cozy. It's been great, and I have got set up with some music equipment and photography equipment behind me, and I got my own little space again, and I could not be happier just to have the camera set up and some lighting and just a decent little setup. Got some artwork on the walls with some old records, and I'm just so excited and blessed to be where I'm at now in the season I'm in. But let me just back up and give you a little shotgun version of what things look like. I had felt sick. I had a lot of shortness of breath, super tired all the time. I just figured because we were in the middle of a move and getting ready that these were some symptoms of that. I thought at one point that I had walking pneumonia, and actually through speaking to a doctor, they kind of confirmed, yes, this is walking pneumonia, and took some antibiotics and kind of felt better than didn't, and got on the phone again with another doctor, took some antibiotics and didn't get better. And as a matter of fact, I got worse. I started feeling a really sharp pain in my shoulder. My collarbone started there and went around to my shoulder. And this happened usually at night as I would get into bed. Within 30 minutes of sitting in bed or leaning back, I just got the worst pain. And it progressed and it progressed, and it would keep me up basically all night long. Then I'd have to sit, and I would try an ice pack and try a million different things to try and deal with this. And eventually, after about 8 days of really excruciating pain and not being able to sleep, finally at that last night, I was up walking around the house all night long, basically tears coming down my face because this pain was getting unbearable. And finally, I made the decision to go, hey, I'm gonna go to the ER and get checked out. Maybe I need some sort of steroid shot to help with this pain and help with this deal. And ended up going to the ER on, I think it was a Saturday afternoon when I wasn't in pain, and went through a string of treatments, and not treatments, but just checks and tests and seeing what was going on. And eventually they wanted to do an x-ray because some of this pain was in my chest area. And everything was kind of going normal and expected at that point. And then one of the doctors came down and sat down with me with a very serious, scary look in her face and said that they had found a mass in my chest. And at that moment, my heart basically just dropped, because that's like the scariest news. Wasn't expecting at all. And went on from that point and called family and called a couple friends, and people came to visit. And we were kind of on this road that felt really downhill for the next, definitely the next 24 hours and definitely the next number of days. Ended up finding out that the mass was a tumor. Ended up finding out that it was cancerous, and it was a big tumor as well. Ended up finding out more tumors in other parts in my pancreas and some other places. And it just seemed to keep getting worse and worse and worse. And the world kind of just stopped right then. And just like everybody else who've ever had anything like this would say, you would say, you know, never expected it to happen to someone like me. I'm somebody who goes to the gym 4 times a week, plays basketball every week, fairly active, eat fairly healthy. And it was just a real shocker. And so meanwhile, fast forward, we've started treatment of chemotherapy. And it's a weird series of life-changing pace, I would say, where I go into the hospital for 5 days straight for chemotherapy. They put a port in my chest, and it's kind of right in my little tattoo here underneath there. It's kind of a raised thing. It's a port that when they put a needle in, you can get your treatment to a vein that goes straight to your heart. And so you go in for about 5 days in the hospital. First time around was incredible in the sense that I had so many friends and family reaching out and showing up and bringing meals and bringing coffee. I've never felt more loved and cared for. in my entire life. So thank you to everybody who has reached out during that time, who showed up during that time, who brought meals to the house. I'm telling you, just totally incredible. And anyways, the first 5 days went fairly fast, all things considered. Came home and hadn't felt any real pain up to that point as related to chemotherapy. And I was home, I had 24 hours where I felt amazing, was out of my neighborhood. And then the next day, things went downhill really quick. And for about the next 10 days, this chemotherapy stuff, the effects of it, side effects, kicked my butt. Wasn't able to barely get out of bed, had to just really rely on people, my wife, my family, my kids. And I don't really like to rely on them in that way, but it was a time where I needed to, and they were amazing. And then it was back in for round 2. This time for round 2 of 5 days, we know the coronavirus stuff ramped up even more, and this made it impossible for people to come and visit. As someone with immune system compromised, I just couldn't have visitors. And so it went from having, like, that first day, I think there was 15 visitors, and 13, and 8. I mean, just tons around the clock to none. So I could have one visit, and if my wife would be able to come visit me, it was great. The second time around, I also got some treatment through my spinal column, and so I had to be on my back for about 12 hours. And also in the meantime, the world seemed like it was doing this, and it was really difficult, but made it through, came home, knew what to expect this time around. And just really by God's grace, got through those 10, 12 days of tough chemotherapy side effects. And then on the other side of that, you know, you have these like 5 days where you feel amazing, and I'm on that tail end, 5th day, where I feel incredible, feel like normal. And tomorrow I go back in for round 3 of 6 series of treatments for chemotherapy. So gearing up mentally, been wanting to do a vlog forever, but just didn't have the energy, lost my voice, didn't feel up for it. So I want to take this opportunity and not bore you with all the details, but just bring you up to speed on life. And today I would like to finally do an EDC video. Everyday carry. I'm excited about it. It seems a little funny to do an EDC video when I've spent 5 days at a time in a hospital where you can't carry most things that are part of your EDC. There's no knife, there's no gun. You actually put your wallet in a little drawer and your keys in a drawer for about 5 days. It's weird. You don't need to wear a watch there. All these things that you would use every day and these tools that are part of your life all of a sudden don't matter for long times. 5 days in the hospital, then you come home and really don't leave the house, so you don't need any of that stuff. It's kind of reduced to your cell phone, and I'm kind of done. I'm kind of done with screens these days. It's too much screen time, too much bad news. So I figured I'd change it up and talk about EDC. And the hard part of this, I've thought about this a lot. An EDC, my EDC, it stands for everyday carry. And if I'm honest, I've got some things that I carry every day, and some of these knives, watches, and guns, I don't carry every day. There's kind of a rotation, so I kind of narrowed it down to a bit of an old school setup, a bit of a very practical utilitarian setup, and kind of more of a modern setup. So let's jump into my EDC. First one for the EDC, let me go old school. Old school and practical, and here's the deal. I'm a guy who enjoys my watches. I like classic watches, and this is kind of I had a bucket list watch, and this is it. Back in the day, we used to live in London, England, and I remember going into Harrods, which Harrods is this incredible shop of just very expensive clothing, watches, everything. I remember one day in there looking at the watches and kind of just looking at the showcase, and the salespeople didn't even acknowledge me because I didn't look like somebody who could afford what was in those cases, and they were right. Well, next thing you know, some gentleman walks up next to me and is looking, and all of a sudden a salesman comes to talk to him, and who is that gentleman? None other than Simon Cowell. And there's Simon Cowell casually shopping for watches in a place where he could afford to shop and I could not. Long story short, loved some watches there, and I remember looking over the years and finding another trip back to Harrods with friends a few years later. I tried on a Rolex from 1955, or old Rolex Datejust. I tried it on and I was like, this is so classic, I love this. One day it would be cool to have a Rolex Datejust like this. A couple of years later, ended up going to Los Angeles and was over Santa Monica Pier area. And there's one of the biggest Rolex dealers in the country is right there. And of course we went in to Daydream, tried on a Rolex Datejust, and I was like, one day I'm gonna get one of these. And once again, it's dreaming, it's way outside of my budget. But at some point along the way, I remember as I build motorcycles and pick them up from time to time, I was buying a Honda Shadow to do a little bobber project with. And I looked in this guy's backyard from where I was buying the Shadow, and I saw this bike in the back, and I asked him, I said, hey, what are you gonna do with that bike over there? And he said, well, nothing, it's going to the dump. You can have it. And it was this old, I believe it was a Suzuki, and I was like, this is kind of a freebie bike. So I went and picked it up, and I challenged myself kind of with the barter king mentality. I was like, I want to barter my way from this bike to this dream Rolex Datejust. Not a brand new one, something with some character, something that I can wear and ride motorcycles, repair motorcycles, dress up and look sharp with a suit. I want something like that. And so long story short, I kind of fixed up that bike, eventually sold it, and kind of traded and bartered and worked my way up to this Rolex Datejust. And what I've got here is a 1984 Rolex Datejust. This has the Jubilee band, fluted bezel, and it's an automatic. It was my first time with an automatic watch. It's just a classic, kind of an old man watch. It's a 36 mil, which means it's a smaller kind of bezel, but it's just tiny. You can wear it. I've taken motorcycle trips and worn it the whole time. It's got some scratches and dings. I dropped it off the counter one day and broke the crystal and had to get a replacement one. I bent the minute hand and I said, oh my Lord, why would I spend or get into something that costs this much money that could just be broken and cost so much to fix? The local place that works on Rolexes charges like $1,200 to service your watch. That's just to look at it, let alone repair it. Luckily, I found a guy in town who did it for a lot cheaper and got it back to working fantastic. So this watch is great. It is an automatic, moves on body movement, and if you wear it consistently, you can set it down for maybe even 2 days, pick it up, and it keeps its time. This is incredible. It's totally fancy. It's totally more than I could afford had I not challenged myself with this little barter situation where I got a free motorcycle, ended up with a free watch. Yeah, and I'm totally stoked on it, and I absolutely love it. This is what I would use every day for long periods of time, months at a time, and until you try something else. But this is fun. 1984 Rolex Datejust. And this is an old school grandpa watch, and I absolutely love it. So if I was going to match an EDC to this watch, I would have to talk about my Smith & Wesson J-frame 38 Special revolver. And I remember seeing this, I was in Savannah at a gun show, and I saw this, and I love the character. And just for the safety, so people know, there is nothing in there, we are safe. And saw this at gun show, and I just love the character in the handle. I love the old wood. I love the, it's got some scratches and dents. This gun is accurate for what it is. Very short barrel on this thing, but super accurate gun. A lot of people, this would be a secondary carry, sometimes maybe even like an ankle holster. I did add one thing to his modification, is this kind of grip extender. This is called, I think it's called T-grips. And these grips just kind of extend what would be a really small handle and just brings it out a little bigger for the most comfortable feeling grip ever. This gun is amazing. I'm not a guy that carries my guns racked, and so something like this is just point and pull. It only has 5 rounds. It's a 38 Special. Absolutely love it. If I had to get rid of everything else and kind of go to one, this would probably be it. So along with that, that is the revolver. That would be the pistol that I would have on that EDC if I was going old school. Next thing, if I was to carry a knife to pair with this, I would carry this old Case pocket knife. And this old Case is a simple, once again, kind of the grandpa knife, but even this yellow, just this kind of looks old. And I think I got this for Christmas one year from my kids. A super cool knife, super slim, can be in your pocket and you'd never know, never feel it. That being said, it is a thin blade, great for maybe opening envelopes, maybe some packages. It doesn't have a clip, and I've been spoiled by knives with having a little pocket clip on the side. So this is one that I love. I don't carry it often, but it's awesome and I'll keep this one forever. And that's kind of the old school setup right there, the classic watch. Classy, it'll never, an old Rolex Datejust will never go out of style. Old Smith & Wesson J-frame, never. Case knives are classic. I love classic, timeless stuff. I like to buy stuff that I could pass on to my kids and it would be relevant and they would enjoy it. Setup number 2, and I want to skip. Setup number 2 is this. I would say if you had to buy one gun, maybe to protect your home, and it was just a tool and you weren't looking for something necessarily cool in this, like this old Smith & Wesson, would be the Glock 19. Glock 19. It is not a pretty gun, and somebody will get mad and leave a comment and they say it's pretty. This is tool. This is like a craftsman, like hammer or screwdriver. Once again, just for safety, drop the magazine. It does have hollow points in it. This has 15 rounds. It's empty. The Glock 19 is an incredible tool. It is a really accurate gun. More importantly, I think for a lot of people say it's a dependable gun. This gun can be fired over and over and over again. Extremely dependable, extremely reliable. This gun used to live in my truck, have a little magnet under the dashboard. This one would be there. You got 15 rounds. If I got 2 extra magazines, you have 45 rounds of ammo at your fingertips if you need to defend yourself or do some target practice if you happen to be in a place where you can. This gun is great. You can drop the mag easy. You can open up and see what's going on there. You can break it down extremely easily. You can take your whole thing apart just like that. It's easy to break down, easy to clean. There's somebody that can do a better video, better demonstration of how this works, but I love it. Easy to clean, extremely reliable, classic. Police departments use these, all kinds of people use them, and it's amazing. And it has a high capacity of ammo it can hold. It's not gonna be California compliant, but we don't live in California. We just visit. Along with that, everyday carry. This was a gun that that came just after watching a bunch of reviews. Hickok 45, this legendary YouTube guy. So many people had these guns. They showed me this is a great gun, and I saw it. I said that's ugly. Let me get like a Walther, like James Bond gun. And this just was great. I got it. I've had many versions of Glocks. I've had them chambered in 40 caliber or 45. That Glock 21 chambered in 45 is amazing. Might be the most smoothest and accurate. That's ridiculous. To go along with this setup, which would just be a great, dependable gun to train on. Everybody has them. I would say this is one of my all-time favorite pocket knives ever, is the Kershaw Leek. The Kershaw Leek, and this one has been through it. This has been a carry knife of mine for years. I had a silver one before it that was all blade and no serrated. One day I was at the Atlanta airport and this sucker was in my pocket, and it ended up having to be thrown away as I was in a rush for my flight, wasn't able to mail it back. This knife is so slim, the clip on it is incredible, and that is why you buy this knife. That quick opening, this little lever on the side is the quickest. I'm most familiar with how this knife opens. This point, when this comes out of the box, this is razor sharp. This blade is super thin. Just an incredible knife. Probably my all-time favorite everyday carry pocket knife. This knife has been in my pocket more than any others, and it's relatively inexpensive. But as you know, with all these knives, guns, watches, relative is relative. If you're used to buying a knife from Walmart for 20 or 30 bucks, this might be 40 to 60. And the first time I bought one, that was incredibly expensive. And then you get the disease and you want more knives and they're expensive and bench made and things like that. So to go along with that knife this is kind of a more, let's say budget knife. I mean, the nicest way not to be snooty. In the watches of EDC, this is the Timex Waterbury. You can tell me how to say it in the comments. This came on a black leather band a long time ago, and I changed it. This was actually a band I bought for a different watch. This is an oyster style watch band, and this thing's great. It classes it up. I've had little canvas NATO bands on this thing and it looks amazing, but this watch right here is going to be upside down for you. This Waterbury is amazing. It is a quartz, which means it's a battery watch, but you cannot go wrong with the Timex. All my Timex watches are still ticking. I don't know if I've ever had to replace a battery in them. You know, kids will give me one for Father's Day. It'll end up in their toy box. It'll get beat up, and then you pick it up into things keeping time, and they're incredible. Timex does an amazing job of their new, like, kind of modern classics, and I'm a Timex fan. I think they're incredible. So if you're on a Timex budget, you can go get you one for like $25 to $45 and have an incredible watch. This Waterbury might have been about $115, and incredible watch. You can class it up with a band like this. You can take it in the pool, I think. And it's got the Indiglo, which is classic. All right, in this third section and final section of EDC, I'm going to, and I could have talked about each one of these a whole lot more, and there's amazing videos out there. And I would say do a bunch of research before you buy the knife, before you buy the gun, before you buy the watch. This one right here is kind of what my modern EDC, this is what I carry this week. This is what I have on me. And let's start with the watch. This watch I've watched more reviews on before ever purchasing it. Reviews, and it's, without further ado, this is the Seiko SKX is, I believe, the model. And this is, I put this Barton band on it in green, which is my absolute favorite color. This watch is a dive watch, and this isn't really the band you would have on a dive watch necessarily, but this is the band that I have on it, and I absolutely love it. The colors of this face are incredible. The center is a black, where in some pictures you'll see it as a blue. It's just great. I love the colors on this. This thing is better in person. I watched all the reviews, thought it was great, but seeing it in person, it's amazing. This watch with the canvas band is incredibly comfortable. And man, this thing looks great. Like I said, green's my favorite color. And the Seiko SKX, you can get them, the ones made in Japan, made other places, but just all around. I don't think you can go wrong. Go watch 50 other reviews, and everybody will tell you this is amazing. This is great. This is kind of like what the Glock is of guns. This is your go-to. You can class it up with a stainless steel band, or kind of class it down like I've got. But this is, if you had to have one watch, this guy right here would do you right. Moving on from watches, for this more modern setup, because this watch I've only had maybe 9 months, and I love it, and it's part of my very regular wear. The next one that is still new to me, that I'm getting familiar with, because like I said, the Kershaw Leak is my all-time favorite carry knife. I'm most used to it, but the newest edition, they're using some points on my credit card to make this knife semi-affordable, is the Benchmade Osborne. And it might be called something like the 980 or the 920 or something like that, but it's the Benchmade Osborne. And this knife is green, in an amazing shade of green. It has a super cool kind of drop down tip. This knife is a lot thicker than the Kershaw. It's gonna be a stronger, more durable knife. Watch the reviews on this, everybody loves them. This knife is stupid expensive. Is it worth what the cost is? I don't think so. But if you got some credit card points you can use to make this more affordable, I think you should. It opens differently, where you kind of have to do that. Still not used to it. Still prefer my Kershaw, but I'm getting used to it. And sometimes you just have to embrace carrying a new knife, carrying a new tool, making it part of your everyday carry. This knife is so expensive. I have another Benchmade. I was like, I never use it on anything. I don't want to get it dull or mess it up, but knives are meant to be used. So I said, with this one, I'm going to use it. When I say use it, I mean open up boxes from Amazon Prime. This knife is incredible. Still getting used to it as my everyday carry. Also, for this round of the modern knife and the newest setup for me, the newest addition for this setup, as far as the gun goes, is this Sig Sauer P365. Sig Sauer P365. And this gun is incredible. This gun has, I believe it's 12 rounds, and this is significantly smaller than the Glock. The Glock is a double stack, meaning it's wider, and the Sig is a single stack. This has a little extended magazine on it so you can get all your fingers around it. We're gonna drop the mag, clear it, and this gun is amazing. It has some of the coolest sights. The kind of glowing green sights. It's just incredible. This gun is awesome, feels amazing in your hand. 12 rounds out of a gun that's this small that I can conceal carry with just like a t-shirt, and it's not gonna print. That Glock is gonna print with a t-shirt. It is a big gun for me who wears slimmer clothes. This right here, I can get away with. It's not quite as concealable as the J-frame, the little Smith & Wesson, but it's flipping close. And that Smith & Wesson has 5 rounds. This has 12. This particular version also has a safety, which you could use or you could not use, depending on what you do. But for a guy like me who doesn't carry my guns racked because it makes me nervous, this has a safety on it. And if you're super comfortable, don't need the safety, just don't put it on. But I'm super stoked on this gun. This one kind of lives with me daily. It is a small gun. It's accurate, it's dependable. Is it Glock dependable? Time will only tell. I don't shoot as often as a million other people here on YouTube. To be honest, last year I think I shot once. That's embarrassing. I should not be speaking about guns, I know. But yeah, I hope to shoot more. That being said, all these EDCs, the advice I would give you is get familiar with whatever tool you're carrying. Whether it's your watch, it doesn't take a whole lot to get familiar with a watch. A gun absolutely takes some getting familiar with, meaning putting rounds through, learning how to clean it, learning how to gun safety, all those things. Your knife, keeping it sharp, things like that. Use it, how to use it quickly. So this is my EDC video. Maybe I covered too many bases. Maybe I talked too long. You can let me know, but I hope you enjoyed the content. I'll bring you along on this journey. Next time I hope to talk about maybe some music stuff like some guitars, or some drums and things like that. I hope you're enjoying this vlog. If so, leave a comment, give me a like, hit a subscribe, and hopefully we'll get some more content. But it's probably gonna be like 3 weeks, let me be honest with you, because I'm gonna be in the hospital 5 days, home feeling kind of crappy for 10 or 12, and then I got about 5 days where I'll feel good, and hopefully I'll be back here talking about a guitar or something exciting. But thanks for checking out the vlog. I appreciate the support. Stay safe and be encouraged in this time that things are gonna be all right. You're gonna be back to normal in no time. It may be a new normal, but you'll be back to somewhat a normal. Thanks for checking it out. Look forward to speaking to you soon.